So here are my whiskey barrels. I use these to do my tomato plants. Now I've grown tomatoes directly in the ground. I've grown tomatoes in decent sized pots, but for some reason the whiskey barrels seem to really work. What we found over the years is because we have trees that are above this area, the trees drip down water when it rains. So we found our tomatoes actually in pools of water. And so what we did is we drilled holes in the whiskey barrels so that it can drain the water properly. And I've already gone through and pulled the tomato plants. That was a bear to do at the end of season. It's way easier to do at the start of the season because the roots are already asleep and dormant and have died. But here they grew even a month after I stopped watering. So what I did is I covered a nice little layer of leaves on the top here. And what I want to show you is the beautiful dirt. So our dirt, we used potting soil, outdoor potting soil, good for any garden, and not any particular brands. We just potting soil, garden dirt. It's kind of the label on there. The key though is adding compost at the start of the season. And compost, as you know, can come in many different forms. It can be compost that you've collected from different scraps from your kitchen, such as vegetables, coffee grounds. You don't really want to do meats, but it could also be manure. And I tend to get a bag of manure and put a half a bag of manure in each of my whiskey barrels every year at the start of the season. And then I use the hand claw to really get the manure in there to assist with the nutrients that's already in the dirt. Now, as your plants grow throughout the season, they're going to consume all the nutrients in there. And later on, we'll talk about how to feed your plants, the best plant foods. I've tried a variety of different kinds. About every 10 days to 2 weeks is ideal. But if all you're doing is watering with your sprinkler and not feeding the ground and your plants, the nutrients are gone. They're not going to do a whole lot. And that's what a big lesson that I learned this year is I was feeding it water from a sprayer, not directly at the root. And instead, I changed to a tubing system. You'll see a tube. I've already removed the sprinkler head from it, but it sits here and actually sprays at the root all 3 of my whiskey barrels instead of just taking the water from the top. Now it does get water from the top, which is totally fine. I found that I didn't overwater them, but the root, you got to feed the root, you got to feed the dirt, you got to feed the water right at the root. Now the dirt is really important. If you've got really good composted dirt, it's going to look like black gold. It's dark. It's not crumbly. I mean, it's crumbling because it's my hands, but it's not just like dust. It's not breaking apart because it's dry. It's got all sorts of, you can see different textures of remnants in there. This is great dirt. In the state of Colorado, we've got a lot of clay. So our dirt can tend to be very dry, very dusty, maybe some red tones, gold tones, light browns. I'll actually show you here. I pulled this up. This is the difference. It's not the good solid color. It's a lighter color, which doesn't have any nutrients in it. This other one has tons of nutrients, and because it's been fed throughout the season. And I continue to add, I've got a bin over there that we continue to add our scraps of fruits, vegetables, coffee grounds, eggshells, banana peels, orange peels, continue to add it to that. And as it decompresses itself in there and starts to really, the chemicals start to really work their magic, it will eventually turn itself into a compostable dirt that you can actually use instead of having to go and buy manure, although I do love to buy manure. And I've got no particular preference whether it's chicken or cow, although cow manure, I feel you get the best bang for your buck. And we had chickens years ago, and there's a decomposition process that happens with chicken manure where you clean out the bins, you clean out the cages, you clean out the resting areas, and the dirt and debris and chicken poop, if you will, have to sit for three weeks at least on their own before you can add it to any garden material because of the fact that the pH levels are so high. And so you definitely don't want to add that. That will adjust the acids in the dirt itself. So once you have your ground cleared, you just add a nice little layer of leaves. We got some rain yesterday, so these are nice and they're not crisp, they're not flying about. They're just going to add a nice little layer so the ground can do what it needs to do. The leaves are going to also provide it nutrients. And so then when I pull those back, I'm actually thinking this year I might just till them in and go from there.